Hi everybody, John Hand with the Pulsing Cinema. The movie of the day. The Pulsing Cinema movie of the day. The Pulsing Cinema movie of the day is Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. And it just, I don't have to like every movie of the day. And this film, I can't communicate to you the expectation that this film had, the hype in the horror circles that this movie had. It was a hype that the film itself, I know, I'm realistic, the film could never live up to it. Even then, I knew the film could never live up to this hype. It was in the late 90s and the early 2000s, it was like a sea change in culture, or we knew it was going to be a sea change in culture. Technology, the internet, movies, everything was kind of very changing very slowly, and it wouldn't really, we wouldn't really see the fruits of those changes until the early 2000s, 2004, 2005, but I mean even 2001 with 9/11, I mean that changed the world, and the way we saw violence and the way we saw things and the way we saw the New York skyline. It changed a hell of a lot of stuff and set us on a course in the 2000s. But but that was around the time 2000 to 1999, 2000, 2001 when Rob Zombie came. He announced, okay, we're going to make House of a Thousand Corpses, and he makes it, and Universal disowns it, and then he sells it to Lionsgate. And apparently a good financial transaction, and the film is released theatrically, and along with Cabin Fever, did I say Fever? Cabin Fever, and launches the careers of Rob Zombie and Eli Roth and all those early 2000 horror filmmakers and what have you, all coming out of this Lionsgate, right? So, I mean, the film is like a carnival ride. It's a house of horrors where there's house of supposed serial killers, the Firefly family, Sid Haig, and, the late Karen Black, and Rob Zombie's wife, Bowie Zombie or Zoe Zombie or whatever the fuck her name is. I don't even know what her name is at this point. Cheesecake, Pinup Zombie, I don't know. They torture these kids, and then the end. I watch all the Rob Zombie films. I mean, I watch them with a critical eye. I mean, but I haven't really found one that I can really get behind. Because I saw, and I'd watched them multiple times. House of a Thousand Corpses, I remember when that first came out, and then the end of that film, with the whole doctor, the guy and stuff. See, I've erased this film from my consciousness. I'm trying to bring this up. It's like it's like a victim of some trauma. It was like a cinematic car crash that I've just blacked out in my head. I'm trying to remember it. I remember Lords of Salem and some of the later films more so, but The Devil's Rejects I find to be a little better of a film. But I mean, House of a Thousand Corpses isn't a bad movie. Technically, it's not a bad movie. I mean, it's kind of like a carnival haunted house ride, like a fun house, but it's like the shittiest, most surface fun house you've ever been on. I think what bothers me about Rob Zombie's films is they just lack soul, They just lack, they feel like they're made by a pod person who is just shoveling the audience the shit that he thinks they want to see, the hot topic, trendy violence that they want to see, but there's no animus behind it. There's no energy behind it. It just, it just feels lifeless. And I mean, I acknowledge that there is technically some very competent and great stuff going on in Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses and Lords of Salem. I think less so in the Halloween films. I think some of the stylistic decisions in the Halloween films kind of go against the subject matter. But at the same time, the characters in Rob Zombie's films are just, they just they seem lifeless. It's like when we watch a Rob Zombie film, we're meant to identify with the killers and go along with the killers. And then sometimes the killers get their comeuppance, sometimes they don't. But I don't feel like I want to empathize with the Firefly family. I don't want them to succeed. I mean, it's funny because there are horror films, obviously, when you sympathize with the bad people, the villains, Last House on the Left, and things like that. But I mean, there's a revenge component to that, and they get their comeuppance, and then you get the feeling in the Rob Zombie films like the killers, there's no reason behind why they're evil. There's no reason for their villainy, and they just seem to be. It seems like the message in Rob Zombie films is you're fucked up from birth. You grow up, you can't change your life. You're stuck in this role, and so you just kind of live that role. It's just like Michael Myers. He's fucked up. He lives that role. Excuse me. I'm just getting so animated about this stuff. It's causing me to come to blows. Oh man. I mean, I don't know. I just think about. It's just you're messed up from birth. You can't. You're just stuck in this course, and that's it. That's it. But I don't like to see it. I would. I sympathize with the people in that hotel room in The Devil's Rejects. And I feel those are far more interesting characters than whatever the stupid shit, whatever Sherry Zombie. That's her name, right? I don't fucking, I don't know. I just black it out, I black it out. Man, Lords of Salem, that was like a possession. It had technically some really great sequences at the beginning, but then it had some shock scares, which were just like, what the fuck? No, it was like the worst shot. It was like Sherry goes into her kitchen, her breakfast nook, and there's like a little ghost up there, and is hanging out. I was like, hey, little guy, hanging out. It was like, you look at Sinister, which is like scaring you out of your fucking pants, or The Conjuring. Oh, I don't think those are the greatest films ever, and in some ways they don't look as good as Zombies films, I think he has an eye for production value, and he's an artist, and so he can bring that artistic sensibility to the films, and he can get a good DP, and he can really conjure interesting scenes. But I don't think he can conjure very interesting characters. The characters are very cardboard. The characters are very two-dimensional cartoons. And I think some people might enjoy two-dimensional cartoons. I think there's something to be said for just making two-dimensional cartoon movies. But I think if you're going to do a live-action film with real actors, why not have them, act realistically? And then, okay, so you could argue, okay, Rob Zombie's films are these, cartoons. They're these live-action cartoons. But at the same time, why are the films so? I mean, they're stylized, but they're not ultra stylized. It's not like we're some Richard Linklater Waking Life or some technical thing where it's like a cell animation or something where there's like the lighting is all it's like something like really strange or totally removed from real life. The films it sometimes feel very real, but then it goes into very abstract, weird areas. Like at the end of The Devil's Rejects, where it gets into this weird, like spaghetti western, like Freebird, like game of chicken and all of that stuff, and the saloon, and then the House of a Thousand Corpses. They go into all these weird areas, And I mean, I love Rob Zombie. it was a big part of my childhood. You know, I went to one of the big parts of my childhood is when I graduated high school, my family bought me these tickets for a Rob Zombie show in the Pensacola Civic Center. And man, it was one of the greatest rock shows I've ever been to. It was just great, you know. His music videos, you know, full of like these Super 8, you know, type of home movies and, you know, kind of goofy stuff with Frankenstein and Dracula. I love that stuff. I love the spook show aesthetic, you know, and I thought I'd really love the spook show aesthetic in House of a Thousand Corpses, and you know, it has like that Spider Baby kind of thing, you know, and Sid Haig. I don't think it's I don't think it's a coincidence that Sid Haig is in Spider Baby and then in House of a Thousand Corpses. There definitely is some inspiration there into that kind of like Spider Baby kind of retro horror spook aesthetic that I think Rob Zombie was going to as kind of an adjunct to the whole lounge thing, you know, these kind of 50s and 60s type lounge culture stuff. Rob Zombie was kind of like the spook show, you know, Monsters, you know, monster movie, Frankenstein, Dracula, that type of evolution of that aesthetic, right? You know, Big Eddie, Big Eddie Roth, Big Daddy Roth, you know, that kind of illustration, that type of style. I don't know. I'm reaching here. I'm kind of faltering because I'm trying to put his stuff in perspective and not just say he sucks, you know, because that's what I want to say. I mean, I don't like these movies. I mean, I can't. I mean, the ending. I remember I walked in early on House of a Thousand Corpses. I got there early to the theater, and I walked in at the end of the film, the climax, where the whole scenes with the red underground, where the woman's being chased, and I thought, man, this is scary as shit. I just walked in. I saw like a few minutes of it. And I walked out because I got there about 20 minutes early or what have you. And if I had not seen the ending, bits of the ending, and so how good it is, which in some ways I think it is good. If I had not seen that, I don't think I would have stayed. Like I would have walked. I would have booked. The second time I saw Devil's Rejects in the theater, I booked. It was just a $1 show, but I booked. I couldn't make my way through it. You know. Just vicious, kind of extravagantly violent stuff. I mean, it's just extravagantly violent with no point. It just feels like he's just shoveling this stuff in front of you, and it feels like garbage. It feels like some kind of cheap Chinese knockoff of a horror film. It's just like somebody at Foxconn just churning out, oh, you want a horror film? Oh, you want violence? Here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go, and let's make it as violent and bloody and the lights and and we'll throw in Ken Foray and bury him in it. I love the fact that he gives those guys jobs. I love the fact that he hires the veterans and Sid Haig and Sid Haig, a career resurgence for Sid Haig. He does the convention circuit, and a great character actor from Spider Baby and THX 1138 and the Jack Hill movies. Come on, Sid fucking Haig is great. But I get a little bit sour on the whole House of a Thousand Corpses. It's kind of like you eat a bunch of candy and you get on a carnival ride and you just get like sick and you want to vomit. That's like the experience I see with the Rob Zombie films. I think I'm going to stop now. The ranting. House of a Thousand Corpses. I've talked about a million Rob Zombie films, but House of a Thousand Corpses, yeah, I don't really like it.